Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something we all use every single day but maybe don't fully understand: Google search. We're going to talk about search engine optimization, SEO, and dig into how it really works and the incredible AI that's deciding what the whole world gets to see. So, let's start with the big question, right? How is it that one website can get seen by millions of people, while another one, maybe even a better one, just gets completely lost in all that digital noise? The answer, in just 3 little letters, is SEO. And here's the game plan for how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll cover the basics, what SEO even is. Then, we'll peek under the hood at how search engines actually work. After that, we'll get into the secret sauce, Google's key ranking signals. Then the really cool part, the AI that makes it all possible. And we'll wrap up with a super practical checklist so you can make your own stuff more discoverable. So, first things first, what is SEO? And more importantly, why do so many people say it's pretty much the best source of traffic you can possibly get for a website? Okay, so at its core, SEO is really just the process of making your content better so it can be discovered in a search engine's organic results. And that word organic is super important. It means unpaid. We're not talking about buying ads here. We're talking about earning your way to the top spot. And this slide right here tells the whole story. Look at that first bar. That's your typical social media traffic. You get this huge, awesome spike right at the beginning, and then poof, it just drops off a cliff, right back down to almost nothing. But now look at the second bar. That's SEO. It starts out a lot slower, for sure, but it builds and it grows, and it actually compounds over time. It creates this steady, reliable river of visitors who are already looking for exactly what you've got. That compounding growth is just so powerful. But to actually use it, you've got to understand how search engines even work in the first place. So let's look at that whole process, from crawling the web all the way to ranking a single page. The easiest way to wrap your head around this is to picture a gigantic library. I mean, a library the size of a planet. But instead of books on the shelves, this library stores a copy of pretty much every single page on the internet. And what's really wild is that this library is updating itself constantly, 24/7, making copies of new pages and refreshing the old ones. So how does this massive library get all its books? Well, it's basically a 2-step process. First, you've got these little automated programs people call spiders, and they are constantly crawling the web. They just follow links from one page to the next, discovering all the new stuff out there. Then in step 2, all that information they find gets organized and stored in this enormous database called a search index. So get this, when you do a Google search, you're not actually searching the live internet. You're searching Google's copy of it. Okay, so the library is built, everything is indexed. Now we get to the most important question of all. How does Google decide which of those billions of pages to show you first? Let's take a look at the recipe for a high ranking by breaking down its most important ingredients or signals. Now, there are literally hundreds of these signals, but honestly, we can get a really good understanding by just focusing on 3 of the absolute most important ones: backlinks, search intent, and content depth. First up, backlinks. It sounds technical, but it's actually a really simple idea. A backlink is just a link from one website to another. The best way to think of them is like votes. When another website, especially a trusted one, links to your page, it's basically vouching for you. It's telling Google, hey, this content over here is legit and credible. Next up is search intent. This one is all about understanding the why behind someone's search. For example, if someone types in slow cooker recipes, what do they want? Well, they want a list of recipes, right? But if they just search for slow cooker, they're probably looking to buy one. So to rank well, your page has to match that user's goal. At the end of the day, Google's main job is to make the searcher happy. And finally, we have content depth. And listen, there's a huge misconception here. This is not just about word count or how long your article is. It's about how completely you solve the user's problem. Did your content answer their question so thoroughly that they don't even need to hit the back button to click on something else? That right there is real content depth. Okay, but all of this brings up a really fascinating question, doesn't it? We've talked about what Google is looking for, but how can a computer, just a machine running on code, truly understand what a page is about, or what a person actually wants? Well, the answer is artificial intelligence. So in this next part, we're going to look at the incredible AI that powers modern search, and we'll see how you can actually teach a machine to understand concepts. Here's the key idea you need to grasp. An AI doesn't read an article or see a picture the way you and I do. It's not thinking. Instead, it learns to recognize things by breaking them down into their most basic parts, simple edges and patterns. It's a pattern matching machine. Okay, let's watch how an AI learns to recognize something as simple as the number 9. So first, the image goes into the system as just a grid of pixels, right? Just dots. The very first layers of the AI don't see a 9. They just see basic edges, simple lines and curves. Then, the next layers start combining those simple edges into more complex patterns. Oh, I see a loop here and a stick there. Finally, the last layer puts it all together and recognizes that the combination of a loop and a stick represents the number 9. Now just try to imagine that concept scaled up infinitely. That's how Google's AI can tell the difference between Apple the fruit and Apple the company, by recognizing all the patterns in the words and links that surround it. It's not reading, it's recognizing context. Woo, okay. That was the deep, complex theory. So let's bring it all back down to earth and make it practical. How can we use all this to make our own stuff more discoverable? Well, here is a quick 5-minute SEO checklist you can use. These are some really simple best practices, but they make a huge difference. For your URLs, just keep them short and descriptive. For title tags, you want to include your main keyword, of course, but also make it click-worthy. Make someone want to click on it. Use headings like H1, H2, and H3 to give your content a logical structure. And this one is so important. For images, always fill in the alt text. It's not just for accessibility, which is super important. It also tells Google what your image is about. And hey, here's a great little pro tip. Always set your external links to open in a new tab. That way you don't accidentally send your visitors away from your site for good. And all of this really brings us to a final, pretty deep question. As this search AI gets smarter and smarter, as it gets better at understanding what we humans truly want, is the best SEO strategy just to create the absolute best content for other people? As the machines get better at thinking like us, maybe, just maybe, creating for humans is the only real strategy left. Thanks for diving into this with us.